Okay, hi. I'm Guy Olakin. This is College Physics 1. Intro physics is broken up into two classes. The first one is balls and objects flying through space, forces, things that you have some familiarity with. And then the second physics class is electricity and magnetism, where it gets a little more abstract. So this is the one that's more connected to your intuition about how things work. That's mostly a helpful thing. There are a few places where that's a thing that makes it difficult because there are some important cases where your intuition most likely is wrong. Most people sort of build an understanding of the world that isn't really what happens. And so when we get to those things, I'll try to point them out. So all I'm going to do today is go through the structure of the class, show you where stuff is on the D2L site, and go through the syllabus and answer questions. We're not going to have an assignment for today. And then on Thursday, I'll do the first discussion of actual, content, and I'll give you an assignment after that, and then we'll be sort of off and running. But today is just talking about the class. And we have plenty of time. We're going to finish early. So please feel free to ask questions if they occur to you. As long as it's working the way it should. I am always going to do my lectures on a tablet. And so I'm going to be writing on the screen while I talk, just exactly like I was doing a whiteboard, lecture. But the benefit is you can see at the bottom of the screen, everything's being recorded as I go. And so I can give you access to videos after every lecture. And so if you miss a class, that'll be useful. You can see the notes that I took like today, I'm mostly not going to be writing stuff. I'm just going to be showing you around the website. But normally I'll be writing on the screen. And the way that you should take notes in this class is exactly as if I was writing on the whiteboard. Just whatever I write up here is what I'm intending for you to take notes on. Okay? All right. Well, so the most important thing for you to be able to do electronically is to get on the D2L website. And anybody who's taken Normandale classes is familiar with D2L. But, a lot of people are new to here, so let's go through how to get to D2L. So this is the main Normandale webpage. This is just normandale.edu. And if you go up to the drop-down menu on the top right, you can go to Current Students. And then just scroll down a little bit, and D2L is one of the banners down here. And go to D2L. And to log into D2L, you need your star ID and a password. If anyone needs help figuring that kind of stuff out, let me know and I can help you, point you to the right places to get that working. And when you enter D2L, you'll see something like this that shows all the classes that you're taking. This is College Physics 1, so we'll go to that. And the first thing that you'll see when you get into the class D2L webpage is the announcements. And you should get used to looking at the announcements once a day, at least once a day. Everything new that I post, every new assignment, every new video, it'll be mentioned on the announcements. So the announcements will give you a map of where you need to look for what. Okay. One thing that unfortunately is a little confusing is I have a Monday, Wednesday class, and then this is the Tuesday, Thursday class. And basically, everybody is going to be doing the same things at the same times. But I'm going to have to do separate posts for the Monday, Wednesday class and the Tuesday, Thursday class. So that's a pain. So what you see there, so you guys are sections 13 and 14. The Monday, Wednesday is sections 11 and 12. So anything that you see that says sections 11 and 12, you can ignore. That's for the other people. And you just need to look for the stuff that says sections 13 and 14. There's basically not going to be any significant differences between those, but you don't want to end up doing double of everything. You know what I mean? And the due dates are going to be one day off always, you know, so yeah. So I'm sorry, that's confusing, but hopefully we'll get through that. So this here, you know, this is the first lecture video for the Monday and Wednesday class, and it says how to look at the video. If you go to the content section, scroll down to lecture videos, there's nothing there. Oh, because I put in the wrong spot. I got to change that. But so you can see, this is physics, college physics. That one thing I want to make this who mean to be signing up. Okay. But anyways, those videos are going to be available like that. Okay. So what do you need to identify on D2L? I'd say there's three main things. First of all, when I go through the syllabus, I'm going to say this again, but the best way to get a hold of me is to use the instant messaging on D2L. It's easier for me to keep track of the messages, you know, because I get a lot of messages and email can be a little cumbersome. So if you want to contact me, just go up here to the mail icon and send me a message. The second thing is where to submit assignments. So to submit assignments, you're going to take photos or scans of the work you do, and then you're going to turn it in at assessments, assignments. There aren't any assignments yet, so there's nothing here, but you'll see folders for each individual assignment when I give those. The third thing is to check your grades. I'm going to be make a major effort to have your grades updated very quickly all the time. So you can always go to assessments grades. And as you can see, it's not set up yet because I haven't assigned anything yet, but, and you can see what your percentage is currently in the class. You can look at the grades for individual assignments and individual exams and stuff like that. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth thing is content. And this is where all the files are that you'll want to read. All the assigned problems are going to be listed here. You know, this is where the lecture videos are going to be and the lecture notes. Under the table of contents here, you can see the different categories of things. Course information, that's where we're going to spend most of the time today, just looking through the syllabus. But if you want to read ahead, or you want to see a slightly different take on the things that are coming up in lecture, there are videos by topic. So, you know, say you want to go back and re-look at one-dimensional particle kinematics. Okay. Go down here. There's a lecture video you can watch that's just from some previous semester and sort of spliced together to focus on only the stuff that I want to focus on. So you can watch that video. There's also the corresponding notes, the notes that I wrote down during that lecture. So as you watch that video, like you could print out, which one did I say? Free fall. So you could print out the PDF of those notes and take notes in the margins or whatever. So that's available to you if you want to study ahead or if you want to revisit something and see a slightly different take on it. After every class, I'm going to give an assignment, not today, but starting Thursday. Every class, I'll give an assignment, and those assignments will come from these problems for daily assignments. So it'll say something like, do vectors problems 6 through 8, okay? So you would go to the problems that say vectors, and you would go scroll down to number 6. Oh, it doesn't even have 8. Well, that wouldn't work. But so 4 through 6, you know. So, and do numbers 4, 5, and 6. And then you submit those. You take a picture of it or scan it and submit it in assessments, okay? It sounds like a lot of right now, but it's all going to be pretty simple once you get used to it. One thing that's really important to remember about these daily assigned problems is there's solutions available to you for every one of these problems. I am asking you to turn in your daily problems just to keep you on schedule, but really these daily problems are for you. This is how you learn this material. The number one thing for doing well in this class is understanding how to do these daily problems, okay? And so if you're doing one of these problems and you get stuck halfway through, the solutions are there for you to help yourself get unstuck. Or if you get all the way through them and you want to check your answer at the end, the solutions are there for that. It's very important for your own benefit. Like, remember, the main purpose of these daily problems is to learn how to do these things. And so you might think like, well, the solutions are there. I'm just going to learn from the solutions how to do these problems. It just doesn't work very well. You know, it seems like a reasonable approach, but experience says it just doesn't work very well. So you want to take the time to try to do these problems on your own and then just use the solutions as needed after you get stuck or after you're done with the problem. And if you do get stuck and need to use the solutions to give yourself a boost halfway through, it's in your best interest a day later, a couple days later, whatever, to go back and make sure that you can do the problem all the way through, that you remember the thing that was confusing before, okay? Okay, so the problems for the daily assignments are there, the solutions are there, but be sure you know how to do them without the solutions. Okay. So that's kind of just showing you around the D2L site. So now we're going to go into the syllabus. There's a separate syllabus for sections 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. You're 13 and 14, so I'm going to look at this one. Okay, and so here's the syllabus for the class. It has most of the class information that you would need. We're in that lecture right now. Your labs, if you're in section 13, are on Tuesday, and if you're in section 14, it's on Thursday from 10 to 12. My name's Gaio Lakin. You can just please call me Gaio. My office, my email, and my phone are here. Excuse me. But like I said, the best way to contact me is through the D2L Messenger. Okay, so sometimes we'll have to use email if we have to exchange files or figures or whatever, because the Messenger doesn't allow attachments. But for just text messages, just send it to my D2L Messenger. I have 5 office hours a week. and they're listed here. I do them in the tutoring center so that there's more seating. My office is pretty small, as you would imagine. So the tutoring center is like on the second floor in the middle of campus, kind of. If you're on the second floor going to the front of the building, it's the glass walls that you walk by is the tutoring center. So I'll be in there Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 3:20, and then Fridays from 12 to 1:50. And if you'd like to meet and talk, and these times don't work for you, when you want to do it, send me a message, and I'm happy to schedule things outside of that. And I can schedule Zoom meetings too if you want to do it remotely. Okay. So, but I'm always going to be at the tutoring center during these periods. Okay. Materials for this class. There is no textbook for this class. Everything that I want you to learn in this class is stuff that I'm going to say in the lectures. Okay. And so it's going to be available in the videos and the notes I give you. If you look at a physics textbook, it's 600 pages long. So my thinking on this is, instead of expecting you to read 600 pages and vaguely remember a bunch, like all this material, I'm going to try to boil down what I want you to know into just the stuff I can say in 3 hours a week. Okay. And the trade-off for you is, so it's less material that you need to understand, but I'd like you to understand it pretty thoroughly. And that means not just being in class and taking notes, but periodically going back and reviewing your notes and reminding yourself what I say. And to encourage you to do that, one of the things we're going to do that I'm going to talk about lower down in the syllabus is we're going to have regular lecture quizzes where I just ask short answer questions about what I've said in class, And to do well on those, you just need to skim back over your notes and remind yourself what I said. Okay. Okay, so there's no textbook. Sometimes people who are getting ready for standardized tests like MCATs or something would like to have a book for future reference. It won't help you during the class, but if you want something after the class is over, this Giancoli textbook is a good textbook. And then even better, I think, is this Shams Outline. It's a paperback thing. They do it for basically every science subject. It costs about $20 or $25. It's really cheap. It has little summaries of every topic. And then it has, like, say, 1,000 problems in it with solutions. It just works really well for reviewing. And, this textbook costs, say, $200. This costs $20. So that part of it is pretty nice, too. And to be honest, before you pay $20 for it, even, you might be able to find a PDF. I mean, it's illegal technically, but you might be able to just find a free PDF online. I know they're available for a lot of these Shams outlines. So, but like I said, don't use that during this class. In this class, I'm trying to be as concise and clear about what I want you to know to get ready for the tests as I can. So, don't listen to what someone else says to get you ready for the test they would write. Listen to what I say to get you ready for the test that I'm going to write. You know what I mean? Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. This is a 4-credit class, and things got a little crazy for everybody during COVID, and expectations in a college class got sort of muddled and confused because everybody was just trying to help students get through. But now, we're essentially through it. We're back in the regular formats, and I'm going to go back to the usual expectations for a college class for time commitment. And what that is, you could Google it and you'd see this answer from 100 different universities and colleges. Everyone gives the same answer. For every credit that the class is, that's an hour that you spend, an hour of instruction per week. For every hour of instruction, you should do 2 to 3 hours of work outside of class. Okay, so this is 4 credits. You should be doing 8 to 12 hours of work outside of class on this class. Let's just call it the low end of that, okay? So let's say you want to spend 8 hours a week on this class outside of the class instruction time. And I really, really think if you do that consistently every week, you're going to find this class to be easily manageable. You're going to have a good experience. You're going to learn a lot, okay? When people get into trouble, I think it's when their schedules don't tend to allow the amount of work that you need for the class. And so if you try to get by in this class with significantly less than 8 hours a week outside of class time, you're going to likely run into problems, okay? And so I know everybody has difficult schedules. You're trying to fit things in and do as much as you can. It makes it challenging. Make sure that your schedule is going to allow that amount of time. If it doesn't, this is just very likely going to be a bad experience all the way around, and it's not your fault or the class's fault. It just is trying to put together puzzle pieces that don't go together, So make sure that you have that amount of time. Okay, prerequisites, there's only one of them. It's college algebra. If you have not taken college algebra, maybe we should talk about it. This class still might work for you. I've had it work well for people who haven't finished college algebra before, but we should at least talk about it. The other thing that I wanted to mention related to this is if there's anyone here who is taking this class for engineering, there are a couple of engineering departments where this class is allowed, but for the most part, you probably want to be in calc-based physics instead. So we should talk about that after class. If anybody is taking this for engineering credit, we should make sure that it's going to work for you, okay? I've had a couple of times that I felt so bad, both times we're halfway through the course, someone's like, oh my God, I don't think this class transfers, So make sure you're in the right place. Okay, here are the topics to be covered. I'm not going to talk about that right now. So let's get down to the grading. I know that's, maybe the most important thing to a lot of the students here. So my grading scale is going to be, at the most strict, it's going to be 92 for an A, 82 for a B, 70, 60. If people are scoring worse than I expected them to, maybe I write a couple tests that are harder than I meant them to be, and people are lower than this, then I might relax it a little bit. But most of the time, this is about what the grading scale is. And I know a lot of times people look at my grading scale and it makes them a little nervous because it looks high. But I don't think you should be nervous about that. If anything, I think my class is probably easier than a college physics class on average to get, say, an A or a B. And the reason is people tend to score high in my class because I'm giving you, on exams and on the problem sets that I'm grading really carefully, those problems tend to be very similar to the daily problems I've given you. So I don't think you'll ever feel, if you're putting in the right amount of work and doing all the assignments and stuff, I don't think you'll ever get to a test problem and say oh, what's this? This is nothing like what I've seen. Everything should look pretty familiar. And if you've done the work, people tend to do pretty well. So that's the only reason I have sort of this higher tilted grading scale. The the grade is broken down into 10% lab exams, 10% lecture quizzes, 10% daily assignments, and then 20% weekly assignments and 50% exams. So now I'm just going to go through describing what each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories are, you know. Well, first, since I've already mentioned it, let me talk about daily assignments. So 10% of your grade is just turning in the daily assignments. I'm giving you full solutions to those, so it's not a matter of whether you can do them or can't do them, you know. But I'm just giving 10% of your grade to turning these in on time, making sure that you stay on schedule doing these assignments. You know, I'm not grading them because you have the solutions. I'm just checking off like, yes, turn this one in, turn this one in. There's going to be about a total of 30 of those, you know. I dropped the lowest 2, so if you miss the deadlines on 2 of them, it doesn't affect your grade. But that's the deal with daily assignments. 10% is lab exams. So in the labs, we're going to work on intuitive understanding of physics. And 3 times during the semester, the lab period is going to be taken up by an exam where you have to answer questions similar to what we've done in labs to make sure you're just internalizing these skills that we're working on in labs. 10% split among 3 exams means each one is worth 3 1/3% of your grade. So it's not worth a ton, but adds up to about a letter grade. If you have to miss a lab exam, well, one thing to keep in mind is you can feel free to go to any of the other lab exams. So in the week that I give a lab exam, all of my labs that week are just the lab exams. So say that you're scheduled for the Tuesday lab, if you can't make it to your usual Tuesday lab, but you can make it to the Thursday one, feel free to go to that. That's really true of labs in general, by the way. You know, we have enough spaces in every lab that if you want to switch to a different one, that works fine. You also, if it works better one week to go to a Monday or Wednesday lab, you can look that up in the other syllabus and show up for that. And you don't have to tell me ahead of time. You can just show up. Okay. But these are when the lab exams are going to be. So if you have the Tuesday lab exam 1 is going to be Tuesday, September 12th. Lab exam 2 is going to be Tuesday, October 24th, and so on. Okay. Then the other thing that's worth 10%, yes?
I could just correct. So the lab meter is from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. That class starts at 12.
That's right. Yep.
Thursday, right?
Well, if you are in section 14, then yeah, your lab is Thursday from 10 to 12, and then you have class after. And we also have class on Tuesdays. So everybody in here has class Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1:20. And then half the people in the class have labs right before that on Tuesday, and half have it right before the class on Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. The lecture quizzes, most Wednesdays it says, maybe every other Wednesday, something like that. The class is going to end with a 5 to 10 minute quiz where I'm just going to ask you short answer questions about what I've said in class. I try to focus on what I consider to be the big questions, so I'm not trying to catch you on little tiny things, but I'm just trying to make sure that you're going back periodically and reviewing your notes. One thing about this class, and this goes for lab exams and regular exams too, everything I do in this class is cumulative. So when you go back and skim your notes for the lecture quizzes, you need to go all the way back to the beginning. I'm going to ask questions from all the way back. I know it's more common for instructors to do exams and quizzes that are just on the little thing that you've done since the last quiz or exam, and then have a big final at the end that's cumulative. But to me, it just makes more sense. Like if you're going to have to remember everything at the end, you might as well start working on remembering everything right from the start. And so everything that I'm going to give you is going to, is going to cover everything that we've done up to that point. Okay. The lecture quizzes, I'll drop the lowest 2 quiz scores from your grade. So if you bomb 2 of them, that doesn't show up in your grade. Okay, so these are the 3 things that don't make up big chunks of your grade. Each one of these is 10%. Anybody have any questions about any of those?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So is business kind of similar to like technical chemistry, like organic chemistry? It's like 2 classes.
Oh, yeah, good question. I was going to say that later, but it is sort of like that. Like basically you have to be at all the labs. I have it, you can miss 2 labs and pass the class, but if you miss a 3rd lab, then you fail the class. That sounds pretty harsh. We could probably work around that if we had to, but if you can't make it to a lab, let me know as soon as you know you can't make it so we can make other arrangements. I mean, the basic idea is you have to be at all the, I want you to be at all the labs is the basic idea. But I try to be flexible. Any other questions? Okay, so now worth 20% of your grade are the weekly assignments. And so once every couple weeks, say probably 7 or maybe 8 times over the course of the semester, I'll give you what's kind of like a traditional problem set. You won't have solutions given for this. And I'll give you a week to work on it, even though it's not like it's going to take a full week to do, but just to give you some flexibility. And you're going to do these problems, turn them in, and instead of just checking off whether you've done it on these, I'm going to grade them carefully, So those are the weekly assignments. And you can feel free to work with each other on these things to understand the material. But what you turn in as your weekly assignment needs to be your own work. So if you work with someone else to understand how to do one of these problems, say, or a couple of these problems, that's great. I encourage that. But you need to understand it well enough that then you can go and do that problem on your own to turn it into me, okay? If you're turning in stuff to me that you're copying line by line from something else, then that's not your own work, and that's crossing the line into cheating, Same with finding answers online. It's unfortunately for us, it's pretty easy to get questions answered online, and then you can turn in the work that you find online. Well, that's not, that doesn't count as your own work. So, so don't do that. I would say the websites like Chegg, if you've heard of Chegg, there are a couple of other similar websites where you can submit questions to them, and they have their experts, their tutors, that then answer those questions, and people just submit those as their own work. It's caused a lot of problems, like over the COVID years. My recommendation is just don't even mess with websites like that. For the amount of benefit that you can legitimately get out of that kind of stuff, it's not worth the huge potential downside of getting sucked into copying down answers that a professor will then recognize, and then you have a major problem. So definitely in this class, I'm giving you the solutions to the problems I want you to have solutions for. I'm not giving you solutions to the ones I don't want you to have solutions for. So don't go look for solutions online, please, and we won't have problems. I have had to give, like a lot of total F's and zeros in classes because people have turned in problems that are undeniably just copied from websites, And I hate doing it, and obviously people hate getting F's, so let's just not mess with that.
How can you tell somebody cheated?
Yeah, usually the way that I can tell, so, everybody teaches their own kind of set of steps for solving problems. So I can tell when somebody, like, it's easy for me to tell when someone is doing a problem in a way that they learned from me versus not from me. And there's nothing wrong with using a different approach, but it's sort of a red flag for me. If I'm like, okay, this is not the method I taught in class, then I know that maybe it's worth looking around a little. And if I find, there's only a few of these websites. And so if I find a solution that's identical to I find an online solution that's identical to what the student turned in. And there's usually what I'm looking for is some kind of mistake. Like these web pages, people make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes. And so if I'm looking at someone's assignment and it's not only line for line what's happening on this online solution, but there's an identical mistake at some point, then that's just undeniable, So that's usually how I find it.
Okay. Hold on.
Yeah. This is helpful for me. It's therapeutic to talk about it, get it off my chest. Yeah. Any other questions right now? Okay. Yes.
Are we supposed to write down our daily assignments and weekly assignments on paper and then turn the paper into you? Or
write them down on paper and then take a picture or scan it, and then you'll submit it online. I've just found it makes the bookkeeping so much easier, and I never lose assignments, and they're there, so it just works pretty well. Okay, and then the last part, so far the stuff we've talked about adds up to 50% of your grade. The other 50% of the grade is exams. The exams are all going to be on Thursdays until the final. I didn't write down when our scheduled final period is, but I can get that for you if you want it early. But Thursday, September 21st, Thursday, November 2nd, Thursday, December 7th, those are the first 3 exams. I try very hard to not make you feel like you're racing against the clock on these exams. I try to write these exams, like my goal is half of the people in the class will have turned in the exam and left after 40 minutes, okay? So 10 minutes before the class is over, half the class will be gone. That's what I'm trying to shoot for. So hopefully you'll feel like you have time to look at the problems, think about it, stretch out. You won't feel like you got to start writing frantically from the start. I don't like that kind of test, and I know a lot of other people don't do well on those kind of tests, so I try to give you time. I also, like I said, I try to make these problems very similar to ones that you've seen before. So if you're doing the work that you're supposed to, it looks sort of familiar when you get it, I also have this policy where if your 4th exam score, your final score, is higher than any of your first 3 exams, I'll replace your lowest score with that exam 4 score. So that's sort of like a mulligan if you mess up one of the first 3 exams. Like say you get 40% on exam 1, and then an 80 and an 80 on exams 2 and 3, and then a 90 on exam 4. Then the 90 you got on exam 4 will replace the 40 on exam 1, and the scores that go into your grade are 90, 80, 80, 90. Okay. Also, if you have an unexcused absence that we haven't talked about from an exam, then this becomes sort of the way that you make up a missed exam. So like if you miss exam 2, you get a 0 on that at the time. And when you take exam 4, say you get a 85 on exam 4, that 85 replaces the 0. Okay. But as soon as you know that you have a conflict with an exam, let me know and we can work out an alternate time for you to take it. Okay. And then labs, like we already talked about this, but you can miss 2 labs and pass the class. If you miss 3 labs, you fail the class. I've never yet had, I don't think, had anyone fail this class. I've been here 15 years and I still don't think I've given anyone an F for missing labs. If you're going to have conflicts with labs, let's talk about it and I'm sure we can work something out. But my overall expectation is just that you're going to be at every lab, you know. And then the cheating policy, this is kind of what we were talking about with Chegg and stuff. If you get caught cheating once, my policy is you get a 0 on that assignment or test. If you get caught cheating a second time, you get an F in the class. Cheating really just means copying someone next to you or copying something online, that kind of thing. Okay, then if you're curious, I put some additional resources from Normandale on here. You might want to glance through that. Anybody have any questions about anything in the class? Yes?
Yeah, so attendance is taken for labs, but for lectures?
That's right. Lectures, there's no attendance taken at all. So you can, in fact, I mean, so first I should say, it seems to me that there is a benefit to being in the lectures, seeing people in person, being able to ask questions. I feel like overall people do better if they're regularly at the lectures. But I have had people who, occasionally I've had people who never come to lectures. They do watch all the lectures on video and stuff, and they only come to the labs and the exams and have done well in the class. So it's possible to do it that way. If you're ever, you know, if it's ever hard to make it to class, those videos are going to be there. So, and I don't take attendance is the short answer. Okay, that's what you asked. Yeah. But just be sure, I will say this about the videos. It takes more, it seems to be, I don't know why, but it seems to take more discipline to watch those videos as carefully and to take notes as carefully as you do kind of naturally if you're in class, you know? So be aware of that. It's harder to make yourself take good notes, pay good attention when you're sitting at home watching the video than when you're in class. So just be aware of that. Any other questions? Yep.
We have 2 days in a week in class.
Yes.
So, you say daily assignment, you post for every day?
No, just for every class. Yeah, good question. So there's not going to be an assignment for today, but on Thursday, I'll give you an assignment and it'll be due the next Tuesday.
No.
And then I'll give an assignment on Tuesday that's due on Thursday. Yeah. I was just trying to come up with a catchy name. Daily. It's catchy. Any other questions? Okay, well, that's it. So that's the class. Like I said, it's a class about those daily problems. If you understand those daily problems, you'll do well in the class. And you will, if you put in outside of class time, 8 hours a week on the lectures and on those daily problems and the weekly problems, then I think you're going to be very comfortable.
Oh,